Hello and welcome to another Digital Photo Mentor Live. Oh, I feel a sneeze coming on. What a sneeze. Welcome. I'm Darlene and I'm feeling a little blue. There it is. I'm feeling a little blue and wintry today. So it is our final live before Christmas. So I want to welcome everybody, and we're going to just do some random holiday sort of related images today, and have a little celebration of our year and just share with each other in the chat. So a lot of this will be dictated by you guys today. I'll show you some images. You can tell me which ones you want me to edit, and we'll just have some fun and see where it goes. So let's see. We got all the regulars coming in. Hey, Danelle, Debbie, Wisconsin. Welcome. Marguerite is on Ontario. Karen is in the Caymans. Brandon is in Calgary. Lee, St. Louis. Rob is in the basement. He's in his man cave. He might, if we're lucky, make an appearance today, but he doesn't like his hair. And the problem is that he has hair. And of course, Deb, other Deb is in Alaska. Oh, but you were on vacation. Lovely. Where did you go, Deb? Stephanie from the lovely Willamette Valley in Oregon, which we've been to. Awesome. So do put a shout out to your location. If you're joining us for the first time and you haven't shared or you haven't chatted before, do share. It's a very welcoming place and community, and we'd like to create a sense of community. So tell us where you are from. And if you're joining us for the first time, let us know that as well. And we will welcome you. So welcome all our regulars, and Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever else you might celebrate. I forget what the African holiday is. All of the holiday celebrations, welcome. All right, so today, as I said, I've just got some sort of random things put together in a collection here, and I thought we could start by having you guys pick one. And I did a few that we've done previously, and I wanted to see what it could do with the new Gen Expand. If you watched this one, we did this one a while back in the animals editing, and we erased the fence. And I can't remember if I did this in Photoshop or in Luminar with erase, but we erased the fence, or I erased the fence and cropped it in. But you notice we lost a lot of the background, and I'd like to have some space in front of the horse. So we could try this one and see if Gen Expand or the Photoshop version will do a nice job on that. So we could try that one. I thought this one as well, we could give the horse a little more space to look into. Let me turn on my little mouse thing. We could give the horse more space to look to over here. Let's see. And then I just got some Christmassy sort of themed ones. Likewise with the elephants, I thought we could give them some space on either side and even above as well. So we could try some Gen Erase things if you want to see how that works. I've put a few in Luminar that I thought were kind of cool. Did this one a while back. This was Kelly's image, and I turned it into black and white, but we could play around with that one and see what else we can do with that. It's a fire spinning. We could try this one with Expand and give the birds more room on this side. And I did a quick experiment before we started the live, and I did this one here. So I used Gen Expand on this one because I wanted to see more of the swan, and that's what I've got. Okay, now if we zoom in, let me take it to edit because I can control the zoom a little better. Okay, if we zoom in a little bit, you could see that it's not great. It did actually a decent job on the feathers, but they've lost some texture, but it got the shape right? And the water's decent. And then we sort of lost this background here. Now it decided to put a tree here. This tree was not there. So it's coming, but I don't think the technology is quite there yet. Sorry, excuse me a second. I got a runny nose after my sneeze. So let me just take care of that. So I'm going to put a few on the screen here, and I'd like you to vote. Oop, let me go back here. I'd like you to vote on which one you'd like me to edit. So let's do the Lightroom ones. Um, let's try some expanding stuff. So let's say those, and I thought we could expand that one as well. So let's call them 1, 2, 3, 4. So upper left is 1, 2, 3, 4. Give me a vote or just tell me a horse, elephant, but we got, 2 horses, 1 horse, sunset. Which one you'd like me to edit, right? Vote in the chat now. Okay, I'm less sniffly now. All right, so we've got a few votes. We've got a couple of 4s, 2. No cows today, Holly. I specifically did not choose the cow. A 1, a 2, a 4, a 4. Lots of 4s. Okay, so we've got lots of 4s on the sunset. Okay. 2 horses, mom and child. Yes. Okay, so we've got quite a few votes for, looks like number 1 has a couple, number 2 has a couple, number 1 has 3. Okay, so it looks like the sunset is winning. Okay, so I'm going to start in here. And this one, I've labeled this as blue. So I'm going to go find this one in Luminar because I want to edit that in Luminar. It's Nancy's image. So I just got to find that one, and it should be down in here somewhere, I think. I was just getting ready before you guys came on and joined me. There it is. Okay, so we got a couple of different images to work with actually, and this is the one we were looking at because I like the idea. It's like what's happening with the moon or the sun here, but then if we look at the one to the left, it's got more space here, right? Now, what if I just had an idea. Like, what if we combine those 2 images? If I put one over top of the other, right? Because that's an option as well. But I want to see if we can expand the other one to give us more room to the left and see if it picks up that puddle. All right. So let's edit this sun and then we'll take it into Gen Expand. So the one thing you need to make note of is if you're using the expand, okay, now this one's a JPEG, so I'll have to go lightly on the editing. But if you're using the expand, do any of your raw edits first, okay? So we don't have develop raw in this case, but do all of your raw edits first. So I'm just going to give this one a little bit of a contrast boost. And I want to warm it up because it feels really pink. So I want to give it a bit more yellow. And we can leave the pink or let's see how that looks. Yeah, that looks okay. And I'm just going to check the curves and see if we got anything clipping. My nose is running again. So we got nothing clipping. I've got the clipping warnings on. Okay, so I could come in and bring a little bit of black in here. And remember when we add black, the color enhances, right? So if I turn off the clipping warnings, look at the sky, right? Color enhances. Okay, so that's a good thing. We could bring that up a little bit. I'm not concerned about detail down here so much at all. It's really a silhouette. So, and because it's a JPEG, I'm not going to try and get detail out of there because we're just going to get grain. Like if I bring the shadows up, you see, we're just going to get sort of muck, right? It's out of focus. We're not going to worry about it. I'm going to let it go black. Okay, so I want the sky. Right, I might come up and brighten the highlights a bit, which will give us a bit more contrast. And again, keep it dark. Okay, so how's our color? And you'll notice we don't have the color profiles because it's not a raw file, right? We're not working. I do not have a hanky at arm's length because I'm out of Kleenex in this room. So no, I need a Kleenex from. I'm going to be wiping it on my sleeve in a moment. Okay, so we don't have the camera profiles here because it's not a raw file. So we've enhanced it a little bit, and maybe I've gone too far with the yellow. Let's see. I'm going to keep some of the red. Do we like the red? Do we like the yellow? I kind of like that. Okay. We could check the optics to make sure there's no defringe. Again, we don't get chromatic aberration because it's not a raw file. Okay. And I don't think it's super grainy, so I'm not going to worry about that. I just wanted to bring a little bit of contrast to it. And if we want more contrast in the sky and darken the sky, I'm going to go to Enhance AI, which is this sky enhancer. And be careful with this one because, again, this one's going to take it too far. And you end up with things like halos and noise and all kinds of things. And likewise with the sky. So I don't want to take it too far. I'm just going to go a little bit. And then I'm going to go to the landscape tool because I know that it has dehaze. And you'll notice that if you have got the latest version of Luminar, if you go and check which version you're using up in here, 1.17, okay, is the current version. And you'll notice that a few things changed. And one of them was this little foliage hue thing used to be in a menu that was hidden, and it was just the one thing that was hidden. So now they've made it there, which is nice. Okay, so dehaze does a nice job on the sky. Okay, I still feel like that color is not quite right. I'm going to work on the color some more. And we've got like a halo around here, so maybe it's some mist. Okay, so a little bit of dehaze and color back up in here. If we want to work on the color, here's my Kleenex box. Thank you. If we want to work on the color, I'm going to go to the color tool and I'm going to try remove color cast and see if that solves some of the issues. Ooh, that's kind of interesting. It almost looks like cross-processed, like a matte look. That's kind of cool, actually, right? Or I can start to shift some of these colors. So I could say, okay, I want to shift this color in the middle, but I don't know what color that is. Is it this color? No. Is it this color? No. Sorry, my nose is running again. Give me a second. All right, let's see if that works. I took an allergy tablet this morning. So I'm trying to fix this color in here, which is kind of this gray, and I don't know what's going on there. So let's see about shifting. If I shift the color, yeah, it's still kind of hazy. So I can't decide. I do like the pink, and I do like what this is doing. So we may end up applying a lot or something. Ultimately, we're going to try the expand tool, right? It kind of gives it a neat look, doesn't it? Oh, I got another sneeze coming. My apologies. At least I didn't sneeze into the mics today. Okay. Holly says, I love the stripes on the sun. Yeah, it's got like some neat cloud formations going across there for sure. So we could do a few different things. I'm going to go into a different tool though. I'm going to go to color harmony and see what this one does because I love doing the color contrast tool. And I want to just see what happens if I play with this one here. Aha. See, that's interesting. It definitely darkens the sun. And then we could shift the color this way. Oh, I kind of like that. That's really intense. I'm going to bring it down a little bit. There we go. And we can also play with the color balance. So this is a mid-tone, okay? It's kind of gray. So we could add some red to the mid-tones. See how that's kind of solving that See how that's applying to the midtones? So we could add some red or we could add some yellow. So I just feel like it's a weird color in there. It looks green. Maybe I'll add some magenta. I think the red was the best. Just add a little bit of red in there, right? And the highlights, let's give them a bit more yellow. There we go. So that's kind of before and after. So we've got a really intense color now, which is nice. And let's go and see about expanding it, right? And let's take it back to the catalog module. And literally all we have to do is just click on Gen Expand. Rob, if you could please share the video. No, I'm allergic to everything, Danelle. I'm not allergic to something in here. I just woke up with sniffles this morning. So it's not my coffee. It's not anything. It's just environmental. We had some rain last night, of all things, in Canada in December. Rain. So some dust, maybe. Okay, so now I want to have a little bit more on this side. So if you could please share the video that I just did on the Gen Expand, Rob. With this tool, you just need to expand the edges, right? And you can see right now, I'm not actually seeing the edges. Okay, so fit to screen. Unfortunately, the keyboard shortcuts for the zoom don't work inside this tool yet, or any of the other ones. So you have to use the menu here to resize. And I want to just expand it to the left. They also recommend doing one side at a time, okay, and do it a little bit. So don't go crazy, because if we go too far, you end up with a less high quality result, because the AI tools have a limit of, I think it's 1024 or 1058 pixels that it can expand, and after that you get like a weird quality. So I'm going to click expand and then we can keep talking. So the way that the tool works is you do have to be connected to the internet, and it sends information up to the Skylum server. It sends your image, okay? And then it's gathering image from their information from their server, like other sunsets or whatever else you want to add to your image. And then okay, so that did not work. That's about the bizarrest. I need to screenshot that. That's about the bizarrest results I've had yet. I don't even know what that is. It literally looks like sushi or garbage. Okay, so if you're not happy with the result, which we clearly are not, we're just gonna hit expand again, right, and see what happens. Um, I'm going to blow my nose again. This is ridiculous. Well, it does not seem to be doing anything good here. Now, why? I don't know. So I'm going to undo. I'm actually going to cancel. Let's cancel. Okay. So if you're not happy with the results you're getting, either cancel out if you haven't got too far. I'm just going to start again. Okay. And I'm going to, it analyzes the image when you first load it. I'm just going to go really small, like really small. And let's see if it can do that. Okay. So for some reason, it's not recognizing what's in the image and expanding it correctly. So I'm going to start over and see if I can and do it little by little. Now, as a side note, I can also take this one into Lightroom and take it over to Photoshop. Okay, so I'm going to do a really quick edit here just to see if we can match something similar. And I'm just going to do auto. Almost see, look at that. When you do auto in Lightroom, it wanted to lighten. So I don't want to do that. I want to darken. Okay. So we want more contrast, not less. Okay. I'm not even going to worry too much about this. This one we can solve in the color grading by adding some color to the midtones. So if I wanted to add some yellow, okay, just like I did in, I guess, more red. Yeah, more red. Just like I did in Luminar. And I could do some yellow in the highlights. I'm doing the same kind of thing. Okay, so then I'm going to take this one over to Photoshop. But let's see if we've gotten anything better. Okay, all right. So see how that worked now? I did a smaller expansion and that worked. So I'm going to do another small expansion. I'm going to grab the thing just like that. So small, 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 small. And it takes about 30 seconds or so. So that's why kind of I'm flipping back and forth here. Now I may end up, I need to make sure that I'm on Wi-Fi. Yikes. Okay, let me just see. Hopefully my stream won't kick out, but I'm actually going to switch over. Once this saves here, I'm going to switch over to wired internet. So if I cut out for a second, I'm just switching my internet over. Okay. Now it's returned another result. So I'm going to do it again. So see how smaller, 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 right? Does a better job. And in the meantime, I'm going to take this one into Photoshop and let's see if we can do something comparable. Mickey, we need your location. Rob is mapping where everybody is. New avatar. It looks like Goofy, not Mickey. Okay, so now this time it returned white for some reason. Okay, so if I'm not happy with that, I can undo, or I could type in the prompt, or I can just hit expand again. So I'm just going to do it again and see if it does a better job, because it did good on the first two, right? When we went smaller. Right now that I'm over here in Photoshop, if I make to do the same thing in Photoshop, I have a couple of options. I can expand the canvas first. Okay, so I can do a canvas size, and that was just up here. I know this keyboard shortcut here. Expand canvas. Okay, so I can do canvas size, and I don't know how many pixels this is. Okay, so it's 5100 pixels wide. Let's say I want to make it 5800 and I want more sky. Let's say I'm going to make it 4100 high. Okay, so then I want to make sure that I put it like this. So it's going to give me space above and to the left. Okay. So it expanded my canvas. Okay. Now in Photoshop, we have the option of making a selection and just expanding it. So I can do the sky first. So I can say, okay, I want this. Now it's not going to give me anything over there. And when I select it, it gives me this generative tool. And if I just hit enter, same thing as Skylum. It's just going to fill it in. Okay, so same thing. It goes up to the Adobe the Adobe server, and then it's going to bring me back 3 results. Okay, so that's the thing that I like better about the Photoshop version is I get 3 choices. Right, in this case, they're all orange because it's just sky, right? So pretty similar. And in Luminar, you only get 1 choice. Okay. Now with this one, again, I'm going to expand a small amount first. So I'm going to do the same thing. And I'm going to hit generate. But you'll notice when we do the Photoshop one, it's a little bit quicker. Okay, so maybe the Adobe server is quicker. This has to do with the server speed and your internet speed, not the computer speed. Okay, not the computer, not the software. Okay, now I've got 3 choices, and it looks like I missed a little bit up there. Right, and see the difference is here. So look at the water. Look at that. That's really cool. You see what it's done here? It's actually put a dip in the rock and the horizon is filled in. So that's pretty smart. Like that one too. So I like that one. The clouds aren't filling, they're not matching quite so great, but I like what it's doing there. Okay. Then I can just do another selection like that and hit it one more time, and we'll get 3 more. So each time you hit generate in Photoshop, you get 3 iterations, which is nice. So it just gives me a choice as opposed to hitting it 3 times. Sorry, my nose is running today. Okay, so now here is our next version. And once again, I've got 3 iterations. So let me zoom in a little bit. So 1, 2. Ooh, it made an island. Well, that's kind of interesting, right? 3. I like that one. And the clouds blend kind of nice. So it makes it look like it's on an island. Kind of like that. Okay, now notice that it recognized that this part of the rock was out of focus and it continued it out of focus. And it recognized that this one is sharper and it also recognized the horizon here. So it's pretty good. Is it blended perfect? Not exactly. You can sort of see the lines here a little bit where I expanded. Can you see that? It's really subtle, but you can see it. And of course, I'm missing that little bit there, but that's easy to fix. Okay, so in Photoshop, once you've generated, if you want to fix your layer, right, just bring my layers over. Each time I've generated, it's a new layer. Okay, in Luminar, you don't get the layers option, so and the masking. So Photoshop's version is a little bit more sophisticated. And if I want to sort of fix these bits that are missing, it's actually really easy because I can use a stamp tool and stamp from all layers, right? So I can literally just select from here and just fill in that gap, okay? And likewise, I can solve these issues of sort of the blending on this. It's called a retouch layer, okay? So it's a retouch layer. I can use a healing tool. Let's see, let's use this one. I can use a healing tool and just sort of run along the edge and it will do a pretty good job of mending that blend, even where the clouds aren't blending. See that? Because I'm using all layers. So I'm just trying to get these lines to blend. So I can get it to do the blend quite nicely, right? And then when we're happy with it in Photoshop, I just have to do save and close. And it does create me a new Photoshop document, but I'll have all of these layers still to work with. Okay. If we go back into Luminar, okay, it's still not creating that edge nicely. So I could try one more time. And if I still don't like what it's doing, I'll just undo and get back to the place that I liked. But again, we don't have 3 choices every time. And we don't have the ability of editing or masking each of them individually, right? So when we get the result in Photoshop, we have more ability to work with it. Okay, so now I've got something that looks decent up here. It's not giving us an island, but that's okay. And we got something weird down here that I can clone out a little bit later if I like. Okay, so the result here is better. Okay, down here, I don't know why it's adding words, but I can work with the erase tool and get rid of that. Okay, so if I'm happy with this, I can just say, okay, save. But I'm gonna hit expand one more time because it got way closer this time. So it's learning the image, right? It's learning what I want. So hopefully the next time, fingers crossed, we get something even better. And I apologize for my sniffles today. What are you guys talking about in the chat? You guys are talking about stuff here. Who's Trapper? Okay, now we're back to a result I don't like. So I'm going to undo and I'm going to save this one because it's not bad. It's not bad at all. Okay. I want to go one more time and see if I can expand it just a little bit more, and then I'll take it into regular Luminar. Those that know. Trapper who? Trapper John MD? That's the only trapper I could think of. Okay, so in the meantime, the Lightroom one or the Photoshop one has been returned. So there's our original, and there's the expanded version. Okay, so kind of nice, right? And it's fairly believable. Again, there's a few spots here where the clouds, don't blend perfectly, but I could do some more work in Photoshop to get that to blend a bit nicer, right? Once again, we got some weird stuff happening in here and it's not blending. But do I like the edge enough to fix it? I think I'm just going to go back a step. Right there. So I'm going to save there. So you could see that the Photoshop one did give us a better result and expanded. Let's put this one into sunset. And I should be able to see that here. Oops. How come I don't have that one? Where's the original? Where's our original? There it is. Okay. So now we've got the original and the expanded version, right? As you can see, the expanded version does have some issues. And if we zoom into 100%, it's kind of got some grain on the edge here. Clouds not blending quite perfectly, but we can work with that. And then I have to go and do some edge stuff on this one, right? But the erase tool or the cloning tool actually would work really well here. I could literally just go in and clone this out because we're on almost black, pure black here. Let's zoom into the edge. Okay, so I'm going to clone from here to here and just literally paint in the blackness. Okay. See that? So this is a really super easy clone, okay? Because we're going to black. Okay. Now the edge here is not perfect. And this is where I would turn the softness down and go with a little bit harder brush. Okay. Smaller brush. Why my edge of my brush is not showing, I don't know. But let's go in here. And I'm just blending the edge of that a little bit better. Okay. There we go. So that was a simple erase. And again, the same thing here. Okay. So if I'm going to fix this with the clone tool, I'm going to bring my strength down to 30%, 25, 30%, and the softness up this time. So when you lower the softness of your brush, I'm doing that when I'm painting on the edge of something that needs to be more defined. Right. Yeah, I have no idea why my brush isn't showing. But now I want it softer because I want to just blend this over. So see how I'm just going this way? Because I'm trying to get these colors and these clouds to blend a little bit better. But I want my editing to blend in as well. So that's why the soft brush, and that's why the lower opacity. So my source is over to the right, and then I'm cloning to the left. So see how that worked, right? I don't see any problems, maybe right there. Okay. But if we close it and come back to the full image, okay, both the Photoshop version and the Luminar version needed a little bit of editing after the fact, after the expansion, right? So the expansion wasn't perfect, but expect that and expect to do a little bit of work afterwards because the AI technology isn't perfect, right? So there we have our expanded sunset. Let's see what everybody would like to do next. Aha, I did have it. Trapper John. Okay, so we did an expansion. This one is kind of fun, and I thought I might take this one into Luminar because I want to show you these images that were done with camera movement. Okay, so if you're out and about this holiday season and you find some nice Christmas lights or lights like this, you can even try this on your own Christmas tree if you have a tree set up, is doing a longer exposure and some camera movement. We should have some articles on zooming during the exposure or intentional camera movement if you could find those, Rob. Okay, so what this is what the subject looked like. So these little trees and the lights themselves have a shape of like a flower. Okay, so I didn't do that in camera or anything. That's just what they look like. And I started experimenting. So I did one zoom, and you'll see that these lights, because they have the shape of the flower, that's what it looks like when I zoomed it. So literally during exposure, I'm turning the camera lens. Okay, here comes the sneeze again. I'm sorry. Rob, if you could please share for Marguerite the link to the Zoom blur. She wants to try that with her Christmas tree. So yes, that's a good thing to try for sure with this guy. And the other one that I did was side to side movement. So I was on a tripod with this one. I was on a tripod for both of them, right? And this time I just had my tripod head loose and I just swiveled during the exposure. Okay, one direction. Okay, so you can see that the lights, like this light here, is streaking that way. This one is streaking that way, and so on. Okay, but I thought, okay, this might be fun because the new blur tool in Luminar does those things. So I thought, well, let's try that. Oops. So I'm going to take the original and I'm going to go directly to Luminar Neo. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to go to Photoshop. I lied. So I'm going to go as a smart object to Photoshop because I'll show you what I did. I did this with a couple of portraits that I did of some Indigenous girls that I photographed last year for Halloween, and I shared them on my Facebook. I think Holly has seen them. So I'll show you how I did that. Did I not say open that image? I thought I did. Maybe it didn't go. All right, let's try it again. Edit in, smart object. There we go. Okay, so in Photoshop, when you open as a smart object, you get this little symbol, okay? And that's why I'm going this way as opposed to direct to Luminar. And this is the truly non-destructive workflow because when I go to Luminar from here, okay, it's going to apply it as a filter in Photoshop and I can get back to it, okay? Meaning I can open the Photoshop document and then reopen that in Luminar and get back where I left off, okay? I'm not going to do any presets. I know I'm going to jump directly into editing and go down to that blur tool. I actually really love this blur tool. It's really fun. Okay, so the first one I want to do is motion. Okay, so I'm going to do amount 100, but I want to do it up and down. Okay, now see how it's kind of blurry, right? So I could try less movement, or I could just try it again. Okay, so I'm going to apply it again, motion. Make sure I change the angle to the same, right? And it's not quite the same look because I'm blurring the entire image, right? But if we want to just localize it on the lights, okay, we could do that. So if I go back, we can actually, I'm going to undo these because I'm going to show you something different. We can actually do this on a layer. So I'm going to duplicate this layer before I do the blur. So here's a fun thing to try. Okay, so D for duplicate. Hopefully. There we go. Now I'm going to blur. Okay, so I'm going to go to blur and apply that blur. Maybe twisted. Twisted's kind of fun too. Look at that. Okay, so a zoom, if you use the twisted blur and just leave the angle at 0, you get a zoom. Okay, if you change the angle to 90, you get rotate. Okay, and that's what I did on those images of the girls. I'll show you that in a minute. Let's do the zoom because that's kind of fun. And I'm going to do it again. So I'm going to do twisted, zoom. You could change the positioning of the center dot as well. I didn't in this case. I just left it. So I did zoom 3 times. Okay. Now I'm going to go up to the layer properties and just change the blend mode. Now, as I hover over, you can see what I'm going to get. Now notice if I go to lighten or screen, it looks very different, right? I think lighten's kind of cool. So then it's literally only blurring the lights, okay? And I can even mask it down here. So if I don't want this part to show, I can mask this entire layer with a linear gradient. Okay, so drag from the edge that you want to show. So I want the lights to show, not down below, like that. So now it's only blurring on the top. See that? And if I want more blur, I can just go apply it again. So we'll go twisted. I don't think it's doing much more after the second blur. So it's kind of done its maximum. Okay. Now, if we want to intensify it, okay, we could go into this layer. We're still on this top layer and increase the contrast and brighten the whites because this layer is lightened, right? So anything that's lighter on this layer is going to show more. So when I increase the brights, the lights show up more. Okay, so there's our before and after. Cool, right? And let's say I want to change it. Okay, I've changed my mind. I want circular blur instead. Easy peasy. We can just go back to the blurs, change it to twisted, and change the angle. So we're already on twisted. We're just changing it to angle. Okay. I don't think I need this fourth one, to be honest. I'm going to get rid of it. And then once we did develop, and voila. Okay. Now remember, I've masked the layer. Okay. So we can undo that. If we don't want to mask anymore, I can say, no, I want that back again. And now the whole layer is back. Okay. Like so. So even if you don't get a zoom of your Christmas lights, you could try it this way also. Okay, so now I've done that. I'm going to apply it, which means it's going to save it back to Photoshop. Okay, back to Photoshop as a layer, it's as a smart object layer, meaning it's going to show up here as a filter on this layer. Okay, see that? Now I'm going to show you the entire process. Okay, so I can still mask it from here, right, as well. So I'm going to save and close, which takes it back to Lightroom. Okay, so for those of you that have Lightroom and a Photoshop and Luminar, you can do this workflow. Of course, if you just have Luminar, you start with this image directly in Luminar. Just curious, Rob, can you do a poll for us as to how many people have just Lightroom? So the poll answers would be just Lightroom, just Luminar, or both. They have both Photoshop, Lightroom, and Luminar. Or all three, I guess. Okay, so now we're back in Lightroom, and you can see that it's a PSD, so it's a Photoshop document, okay? And I can edit it in Lightroom using the tools, but if I want to open this again and get back to where I was a moment ago, oops, my mouse went crazy. What happened there? Okay, if I want to get back to where I left off a second ago, I'm going to right-click. I'm going to choose Edit In. But this time, I'm not going to choose Open as a Smart Object because it's going to open it again as a new one. Okay, I'm going to choose Edit in Photoshop. And then when this box comes up, you want to choose Edit Original. Okay, so that's going to open the original PSD. Okay, not the original raw file, the original PSD that we just worked on. Now we're back here in Photoshop. Look at that. There's the layer. And then if I double click the layer, the smart filter, Luminar. It's going to take us back to Luminar where we left off. Okay, this is truly non-destructive editing. This is the only way to do truly non-destructive editing. Okay, so when we get to edit, when we get there, you can see that we still have the layers. Make sure I'm on the right layer. And let's say I want to change the blur again. So I'm just going to change it to zoom instead again. Okay, and of course the develop. And this time I might leave the layer unmasked at the bottom. So I'm going to leave it like that. So we've just changed the blur. We're going to save it. It's going to bring it back to Photoshop with the new changes applied. And then when we save it, it goes back to Lightroom. So it's kind of a 3-step process. See Photoshop updating and voila. Okay. Then all I have to do again is save and close. And I'm using the keyboard shortcuts to do that. Okay. So I'm using Command S and then Command W. Save and close. So it will close once it has saved. So I'm seeing some answers in the chat, but have you got a poll up, Rob? Yes, I will do that, Rob. Have you got a poll up? So Marguerite has all 3. Marty has all 3. 3 and more. Okay, what's the more that you have? What else do you have, Danelle? What else do you have? So we have 11 votes. Waiting for the rest of you to vote. So those of you that are lurking and aren't chatting in the chat, do answer the poll that's up on the screen. David has 3 plus the Topaz products. Which Topaz ones do you have? I still have Sharpen and Denoise, but they've kind of gone away from those as well, and they're moving into just their photo AI, their raw product. Danelle has Nick, Topaz, and On One. That's a lot. That's a lot. Stephanie has all 3 plus Topaz. Holly's a Neo girl. We knew that. And how much do you use them all, Danelle? That's a good question. Do you use Nick? Do you use On One? Like, are you using them as plugins for Lightroom? Tell me how you're using them. Now would actually be a good time to mention that we are having our basically our holiday sale. So I'm going to bring this up on the screen. Oops. If you go to our website and you see the homepage, I'll just save it right here. There's our website. If you haven't been to our website, I urge you to come visit us, and you can get to the holiday sale by clicking any of the signs. And this week we have Lightroom and Photoshop on special, and also you can buy them individually if you have one of our courses already. So these are individual courses, or we put together a massive bundle which has our Lightroom course, our Photoshop course, our ultimate editing bundle that has sky packs, bokeh packs, and texture overlays, and our preset pack. So it has everything. Okay, so if you don't already have our Lightroom and Photoshop courses, this bundle is the best value. All right, let's see. Stephanie says. Karen says, I use all 3, Topaz and Nick. I use them as plugins. Okay. Stephanie, I use Topaz AI, sometimes Denoise, but not as much since Lightroom. Yeah, I'm finding the same thing. I found that even Luminar's Denoise is excellent as well. And Debbie's is a plus Topaz. Okay, awesome. Okay, and by all means, please share this holiday sale with your friends. Like, tell other people about it. Of course, that helps us to increase our revenue and help other students as well. Right? All right, so that was a fun one, right? Could you do the same thing in Photoshop? Yes. There is a blur filter. There are different blur filters in Photoshop that you can do that with as well. The other idea that I had was to add some more bokeh, and I wanted to share just some of our past um, this was actually a trip that I did. I was in November, and um, trips to Nicaragua. So spending holidays, Christmas and New Year's in other countries, right, is very different. And Nicaragua, um, they have a week where they parade. This is the statue from the church, the Virgin Mary, and they parade her down a different street every week. And there's a band and singing and all these other things. And then they also do a major parade. So one year we were there, over Christmas, and this is how many people, you see on the street, big parade. It was a big fun event, and things like that. So Christmas in a country where there's palm trees is very different, than Canada. A few years ago, we were on a cruise, so this is their version of a white Christmas. I think this was Curacao, for our cruise stop. So again, palm trees. This is a nice blue hour image, which I edited in Lightroom. I think I could show the before. There's the before, so kind of grayish. And I punched up the blue, right, to make it blue hour look a little bit bluer. Okay. So tell me in the chat if you've ever spent the holiday season, specifically Christmas and New Year's, in another country. What was it like? I've spent Christmas in Singapore. That's a good question, Mickey. I am teaching Lightroom Classic, right? And it's new. Yes, I am teaching the new stuff. I've added a couple of lessons, and I'm actually going to be adding another one for the latest update, which was that color mixer tool. So I'm going to be updating that one as well. So yes, the Photoshop class is not being updated, but I'm going to be doing a new webinar in the new year with some more advanced Photoshop things that will get added to that course. So if you do have the course, you will get access to that Luminar or to that webinar, and also to the new stuff. Right? Here's some answers to our polls. Both 62%. Interesting. Interesting. Stephanie stayed home for the holidays for many years. So yes, I've spent Christmas in Singapore. We did this one Christmas and New Year's on a cruise a few years ago. We spent Christmas in Nicaragua a couple of times. Karen says Christmas in Cayman's very sociable. You get a lovely Christmas breeze, so it's nice for outside parties. Exactly. Very nice. Rob is reminding everybody, if you attended the Capturing the Capture with Conscience, whew, that's a tongue twister. If you attended that webinar, it's in your account. You can watch the replay as well. The military. Okay, now I'm interested, Deb. Tell us about that. Tell us about that. Christmas brie. Well, Germany would be more like Christmas beer. Christmas beer, right? Did you have a Christmas beer for Christmas cheer? What else is everybody's what are your Christmas or holiday traditions? We did that a few years back, or we did that last year, and I asked for images on Christmas traditions as well. Let me see if I have anything in here. No, I don't have that one. What else would you like to see edited? I think we'll do one more, and then we'll call it a season. We've done some expanding. We could do a winter scene. We could do this ice, which is kind of neat. It looks like it's monochrome. I'm not sure if that's monochrome or not. We could do this one, which is also looks a little bit monochrome, but I don't think is. Or we could do Deb's Northern Lights. So let's take a vote. Let me just turn all these other ones off. How about those four? Which one would you like me to edit next or last for today? I don't know. I just felt this one was kind of Christmassy statue. on the barbecue. How long does that take, Karen? In the army in the 70s in Germany. Wow. Okay, so Stephanie says Northern Lights. I'm getting a few Northern Lights. Oh, everybody says Northern Lights. So it looks like it's almost unanimous. Yeah, seems to be unanimous. Okay. Sheila says number 2. Deb says number 2. Well, I think the Northern Lights. And if I come back here, my mouse is doing weird things today. Would you like me to do this one in Lightroom? This is your image, Deb. Would you like me to do this one in Lightroom or in Luminar? Because I think you said you had both, right? 2.5 hours. That's it? Huh, that's interesting. Takes half the time of cooking in the oven. Interesting. Interesting. But it has a nice smoky flavor as well. Either's fine. Okay. Well, I'm in Luminar, so let's do Luminar. All right, so we have develop raw because this is a raw file. So we're going to start there, and we're going to start with the camera profiles. And let's just see what we have. Well, we definitely don't want monochrome. So what I'm looking for is, does it, immediately landscape. Look at that. That's half the way there, right? Vivid in this case, which is one that I almost never use, looks pretty good as well. And I want to compare vivid to landscape. So I'm going to select vivid and then just hover over landscape. I'm actually going to go with landscape, okay, because it's not quite as dark and I can work with this a little bit better. I'm going to increase the exposure a tiny bit, maybe the shadows a little bit, but I want to keep the sky darker, right? So I need the highlights down because I don't want to clip this sky part. Turning the clipping warnings on. If you want to bring out your stars, you want to increase the highlights and the whites. Okay. And then I'm going to bring the exposure back down. So I increased the exposure and then changed my mind. So I'm not super concerned about losing detail. So there is detail in those trees, but if I keep it darker and keep the image darker, the sky shows up better. Okay. I do want to work with the color because I feel like we can get more blue out of the sky if I shift it, a little more this way and a little bit less magenta. Okay, see how the difference in the sky? Look at the difference in the colors when I change these things, okay? So when the sky is too yellow, you lose the blue sky. So I'm just going to dial that down a little bit. So the sky looks a little bit less gray. And then if we have too much magenta, the green goes away from the northern lights. So let's go something like that. Okay, so let's see the difference so far. Okay, so dull, color. And we're just in develop. I'm going to make sure chromatic aberration is turned on. We'll check those off. And let's check distortion. I'm going to leave that one off. There's a little bit of edge sort of distortion because it's a wide lens, but I'm not concerned about it because I don't want to lose any of that those lights. Okay. So the big takeaway here is, see how I've increased the whites? Those will bring the stars out because you're increasing the brightest areas, right? See how those stars come out? It's also increasing the color, right? But you don't want to go too far with the highlights because then it washes out, right? So if your northern lights are washed out, they're probably just overexposed. So when you're exposing, it's tricky. Let's just see if I can see the exposure on this one. So her exposure was ISO 1600. Yeah, 14 mil lens, so wide lens, f2.8 at 8 seconds. So that's pretty good, right? If you go any longer than that, usually with northern lights, I'm trying to go between, about 2 and 8, because if you go longer than that, you lose the dancing quality and they just become blurry. So I would actually try and keep it a little bit lower if you can. Deb, if you see them again, keep your exposure a little bit shorter because the longer you go, the less dancing you get, right? But you could actually save this as a sky replacement as well for yourself, right? So you could crop it like this. Oh, we need to go free cropping. There we go. So you could crop it like this. I would go about there, and then I would use the erase tool to get rid of these trees so that you don't crop anymore and keep that bottom streak. So you literally use that as a sky replacement is something else if you want, right? So you can build your own sky replacement with this one. Actually, while I'm here, I am going to crop it a little bit from the bottom. So I'm going to go a little bit more pano because we really want to focus on the sky. We don't need that much foreground. So I've talked about that before in our cropping video that I did live. If you could share that one, please, Rob. That was a really popular one about cropping images. When you have so much foreground, it feels like the subject is farther away. So when you crop in, it brings everything closer, right? I don't know that I would do a lot to this one. I think it's good, right? I don't think there's anything here. Maybe some structure. Let's try some structure. Okay, so the thing with structure, right, is it brings out noise as well. Now my nose is all stuffed up. Brings out noise as well. And because you're at 1600 ISO, you're going to get some. But look at the difference here. See how it's making the sky look like they're dancing as opposed to blurry? Okay, so I'm going to give it some structure. Kind of like that. And then we'll deal with the noise. Okay, so I'm going to give it some structure. And I might see what details does as well. Okay, let's look at medium details. Okay, remember small details definitely brings out the noise. See that? Okay, so we don't want small details on this one, but medium details or large details, let's see what that does. I like to view at 50%. Yeah, it's picking up some detail on the trees, so let's do a little bit of medium and large details. Okay. There we go. And then we can deal with the noise. Okay, now I have noiseless AI. Now, if we want, we could go back and use noiseless raw. So if you want to do noiseless raw, you have to do that first with develop raw. Okay. But if you want to go back, you could just go back to your edits and get to it here. Okay. So this is before all of the other stuff is applied. But once we apply this one and then go back, it'll add all the other edits back in again. So I'm not erasing them. I'm just viewing the image before they're applied. Okay, so that is a little bit too much noise reduction. Can you see that? So when we reduce the noise, one of the things it does is it lowers the detail. You get kind of blurriness, but it also gets rid of a lot of the white parts. So I'm going to bring this down just a little bit. But it did a really nice job on the noise. Okay, then when we bring up develop raw, and let's hopefully when we get back up to structure, there we go. Okay, so see the difference? Now when I zoom into 100%, it's better, but I still see some noise there. Okay, so I can bring this up higher, or I can run it again. Okay, so I'm kind of playing this dance with going all the way back to the beginning to get rid of some of this noise. Okay, and I can see that details is adding too much of that as well. So I'll scale that back. Okay, so see how I'm starting to see a bit more of the structure of the lights as well, right? You get more of this up and down dancing pattern, like so. I wouldn't do a lot more. I think that's about it. If anything, we could try a mood like a LUT. And there's some really neat blue ones that I've got from somewhere. Let me just I turn this amount up before I go into the LUTs so that I can see them a little better. Because I thought if we add some blue, it might look neat. See how it's adding some blue to the sky? Deep blue. I kind of like this icy blue one, right? See what it's doing? It's giving us more blue in the sky. It's brightening overall, but we can fix that, right? I can just come down here and just darken it back again. Let's see what it did. So if you want to just go back a step, okay, we can go back to details. That's what the mood did. I really like that, giving it a bit more blue and then just darkening it back again. So there's our before and after. Okay, and I haven't even worked with the color tool. We can also work with color and color harmony, right? So color harmony is one of my favorites. And look what that does, right? So when we are on green, it brightens green or blue. But when we are on orange or red, it's doing the opposite, okay? So it's intensifying and darkening the green. Like so. We can even make the sky bluer. So that's doing a nice job also. And the other one you can work on is color, which allows you to brighten or darken certain colors or shift the hues. So if I want the green more yellow, I can do that. If I want the blue more purpley, I can do that. See how we're all just manipulating the colors, right? Before, after. Okay. There's a link to the cropping video. You want me to add Santa in a sleigh? Okay, let's have some fun with this one. Santa and a sleigh. Okay. Rob says, make a video on its own. Compare Neo to Photoshop for adding Santa. Okay. Find how to do a Santa and add it. Well, maybe we don't have to. Let's go over here and let's just do gen swap. We should be able to add Santa. Let's see. We could also look for a Santa online, like you said. Okay, so here I want to do a gen swap. So I need to select, let's put Santa in here. Okay, so I'm just going to draw over the area. And then I'm going to say Santa Claus pull in a sleigh pulled by reindeer. Let's spell it right. And cross your fingers. Let's see what happens. Now, while it's happening, I could go over here and look for a stock image. So there's two sites that I kind of use for free stock images. Unsplash.com is one of them. I'll put that link in the chat since I have it right here. And you can just go in and search for Santa flying in a sleigh. I don't know if we're going to get Santa in a sleigh. Let's just take out the flying. Santa in a sleigh. So you get some of these things that you end up having to pay, more money for better images if you want a better image. Yeah, see, there's no Santas and sleighs here. The other website is Pixabay. And no, I'm not looking for AI cats. I want Santa in sleigh. Okay, and then we could say, okay, we want photos, which orientation. Now this one's not bad. Okay, so this is not bad at all. This one is a free download, so let's do that. So we can download for free. It looks like I have to get a trial, which I don't want to do. Okay, so I don't particularly want to get a trial, but you could. Okay, so if I want to get a trial on this one, I could get this image. Let's see. Yeah, see, these ones are sponsored. These are royalty free. So this one I'd have to get a license for. But let's see. Well, there's our Santa. We have 3 Santas. I don't see any reindeer. And it's very cartoony, right? Santa Claus in a sleigh pulled by reindeer. Let's just take off the reindeer because it asks you not to use verbs, right? It says not to use verbs because verbs don't do well. Santa Claus sleigh with reindeer in the sky. Let's try that. Okay, so it doesn't do a great job of people. We could try it. We could try it in. I don't even know where that image is. We could try it in Photoshop and see if that works out any better. I don't know. Like I said, if this image, I could sign up and get a free one. This one, if it's a PNG, let's just see. It's probably a JPEG, so I'd have to drop out the white, which shouldn't be too difficult. But you can get a free image of Santa if you can find one, right? Let's just say, okay, so that was Pixabay. Let's just see what happens when we find Santa sleigh. Well, you got to check for free ones. We've got something that looks kind of neon, so that might be kind of neat. I'm going to download that one, and I'll show you how to apply that one if you want to. Neon and Neo. Do we have any other Santas and sleighs? No. How does that come up for Santa and a sleigh? You got me. Okay, so now it looks like we've got the 3 kings or Grinches. I don't know what that is. Let's say no. Okay, so that's a no. And I found that Gen Swap is not so great at creating things like that yet. And I don't think Photoshop is either. I could take this one to Photoshop and I don't think I'd have much better luck. But let's add the neon image of Santa. So it's in my downloads. Okay. Now it is a JPEG. Okay. So it's going to come in with black and neon, but it's easy enough to drop out the black with the blend modes. Okay. So I'm going to add this as a layer. Okay. Now, if I change the opacity to 100, it completely hides the image below. But if we change the blend mode to lighten or screen actually looks pretty good. Now we can just put Santa where we want him. I feel like I want him flying this way, like through the northern lights, like this. Let's put him in here. Right? And there's our Santa. So there we go. Maybe a little smaller. Let's put him here. We could put him right in the middle. So the place where you put him matters, right? So if you put him in a lighter area and your blend mode is lightened, he's not going to show up as well because it's only going to show up where the image of Santa is lighter than what's below it. If you put him in the dark area, he's going to show up better, right? So he looks good there, right? We could put him here. And remember, we're on a layer. So if I go in here and I increase the contrast and I add some more black, it's going to change how that image is portrayed, right? I can brighten the whites, which brings Santa out. There we go. Okay. I could blur him as well if we want to make him look like he's moving, right? So we can use the blur tool. We can use motion. Okay, and we want motion up and down or sideways. So we want it motion going this way, right? Let's just give him a little bit of motion. We can decide, okay, actually, I'm going to do this another way. So remember, I copied the other layer. Let's duplicate this layer. And then I'm going to do the blur, still screen mode. screen or lighten. And then I'm going to do the blur. Let's zoom in a little bit. So this one, can you see it's blurring? It is blurring, but the blend mode that we use makes a difference, right? So see how this layer is adding the blur, right? So he looks like he's moving, right? And if I don't want it so much blurry, I can lower the opacity, right, of this layer, or I can mask it. So I can say, well, I don't want it on the back part. I don't want it on the reindeer. I just want it on the, like this. So it's blurring the back part of the image, right? So Santa's blurry, the reindeer are sharp. See that? I have to stay in this blend mode here. Maybe I need one more blur. Let's do one more blur. Motion. And let's brighten this a little bit. Okay, can you see what's happening? Santa's blurred, reindeers are sharp. There we go. So there we have it. What do you think? Let's see. How many Santas does it take to deliver presents? Apparently 3, and they look like the Grinch. Let's see. As the saying goes, oh, what fun it is to ride. Yes, exactly. Yeah, I thought so too. So there you go, Deb. There's your Christmas or your Christmas profile. I may, you know what, Deb? I'm going to put this image with Santa as our digital photo mentor holiday theme banner for the group for the next 2 weeks. Okay. Rudolph. Oh my goodness. Okay, Rudolph. Okay, Rudolph. We can fix that too. Yeah, where's Rudolph? Okay, so we need Rudolph. So then we need to go to the neon tool, neon and glow. And I'm going to draw it. So we need to give him, I'm just going to draw a dot. Oh, right. I masked it out on this layer. See, that's what happens. I'm on the wrong layer. Okay, so I got to go to this layer because I masked it out on that one. And I'm going to draw on his nose. Let's make a circle. And then we just need to make it red. How's that? We definitely want a nice glowy nose, right? There you go. Thank you for that. So there we have it. There's our before and after. Great idea. Thanks for everybody for sticking with us this year and for sharing and liking all of our videos. Please keep doing that. It really helps us to grow our YouTube channel. We want to hit 20,000 next year. So that's our goal, 20,000 next year. And keep coming back every week, and we're going to keep doing more fun stuff like this. I love working with everybody and chatting and getting to know you all. So I hope you all have a Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, whatever holiday you celebrate in your family, in your culture, in your country. Have the very best holiday, and we will see you again in the new year. Take care, everyone.